Over the next several videos, we're going to talk about some of the workflow concerns when using subdivision surfaces. Now, subdivision surfaces are kind of a hybrid. They combine the smooth flowing continuity of NURB surfaces with the ease of use of a polygon surface. So they kind of give you a little bit of everything all at once. They also have the ability to subdivide specific areas to add detail only to a given area of a mesh, as opposed to having to subdivide all over as you would with polygons. One of the cool things about them is that you can create multiple levels of detail, and you can manipulate the lower or the simpler levels of detail without breaking or destroying the higher changes that you might have made. Now let me show you a model that you will be creating in this class out of subdivision surfaces. So here you go, a black widow spider, and this is a subdivision surface. And you can see the subdivided areas. So areas where there's very simple geometry, where you don't need a lot of rounding, you'll notice that you have very big open patches. And then where you have higher detail, the surface gets subdivided pretty highly, all based on the amount of detail you need in a given area, which is really the beauty of a subdivision surface. Now, when working with subdivision surfaces, of course, you can grab any of the components you can with polygons. You have vertices, edges, and faces as your most pertinent selections. And these are going to be different based on the level at which you are selecting. Now, what do I mean when I say levels? A subdivision surface, by definition, is subdivided into various levels of detail. You can see these levels either just by looking at the surface, or you can go to Display, Heads-Up Display, and bring up subdivision details so that when you grab any one of these components, it'll tell you what level you're at. So right now I'm at level 0 for this vertex, and that is the lowest level of detail I have. So if I were, I can pull on this and I can reshape the surface, or I can come down and grab some of the lower levels of detail here and start tweaking the surface out. I can also show finer levels of detail, so you'll notice now I have more geometry. So I could maybe come in here and grab these two vertices, and I could, actually, let's not do that. Let's grab just these two, like so. And I'll pull these up. And now if I go back and show coarser once again, notice that that original vertex that I had right there hasn't moved. I've adjusted this at a higher level. I can now move this vertex and reshape the whole thing, but I'm not destroying that higher level of detail that I created with my my two level 1 vertices. Now, you can continue going up and down and making subdivisions. You can refine a given area of a model, which again is just more demonstration of the power of a subdivision surface. Let me grab, say, these 4 faces, and I'll deselect anything I might have selected back here or anywhere else on the model, and make sure that I get faces. And there we go. Deselecting was a little bit of an issue there for a second. Now I'm going to hold down the right mouse button, and I can refine these, or I can go to Subdivision Surfaces and choose Refine Selected Components. We'll be talking about these options later in the tools videos for SubDs. So now as I refine, look at what I have. I have more detail that I can use to model. So now I can maybe come in here and pull up a couple of these smaller vertices, say here and here. Ooh, and look what just happened. Because I moved these so close to the edge of that refinement, Maya automatically generates more detail to allow the surface to take place. And you'll be dealing with that quite a bit more as you go in and start working with subdivision surfaces. Let me go back to faces, and let's grab these faces here in the middle, like so, all the way across. So that's all I have selected. This time I'll just use the right mouse button and come down to Refine Selected. So now I've gone even finer. I have an even higher level of detail, like so. And I can make very small modeling adjustments here. I can go to a coarser level, all the way back to level 0 if I decide. And I can still make adjustments to these level 0 faces. And notice how it doesn't destroy that higher end modeling that I created earlier. It's really the most powerful aspect of subdivision surfaces is really right there. You can also skin to these low level vertices or faces, and the high level modeling that you have done will come right along for the ride without being adjusted. So what are some of the drawbacks of subdivision surfaces? I mean, if they give you this NURBS continuity and the ease of working that you may have with polygons, then what are some of the drawbacks? Well, the biggest drawbacks would be that it's a bit slow on the computer sometimes. If you really crank up the amount of refinement that you have on a subdivision surface, you can really bring your computer to its knees. Some of the modeling operations that you could perform might be a little tough, which also brings up something else. When you are modeling on a subdivision surface, you have the ability to use all of the polygon tools. Now, given it is an entirely different surface, it's not really a polygon surface anymore, but if you hold down the right mouse button, you can switch over to the polygon mode. Now, what this is going to do when it eventually switches over, and Maya had to show me its output window for a second, this is going to show me the polygon object for this model, and I can actually hit the tilde key, and all I see now are the polygons. So from here, I could grab faces, say here, and now, I mean, this is just a polygon. I can do an extrusion, so maybe let's extrude these faces, and then, pull these out, shrink them in a little bit. When I'm done, when I'm happy with whatever I have, I can press the tilde key again, and now check it out. That original modeling that I did is still there, but now I've added more detail, and I'm doing more modeling. So you can jump back and forth between standard mode and polygon mode within a subdivision surface, though notice because my surface is getting a little bit complex that switch back and forth is starting to get kind of sluggish. So that's one of the drawbacks that you have to kind of be aware of. In fact, that's probably the most important drawback. Another one would be that you do not have all of the texturing tools that you have on hand with polygons, so texturing might be a little more difficult. You may want to texture at the polygon level and see how well those UVs carry over into the subdivision surface, which is a bit outside the scope of this class, just something I wanted to kind of bring up and make sure everybody understood. That's about it, really. I mean, that's the only thing about subdivision surfaces that really sets them, I guess the workflow issues you really have to kind of consider. Now, something else that subdivision surfaces have, aside from the ability to be refined, is the ability to be creased. You can crease edges and you can crease vertices on a subdivision surface. So if I'm in standard mode not being polygon mode, of course, I can grab edges, say I can grab all the way around the top here, and I can crease these edges. And I'll do a full crease here in this case, and you can see what that has done to the surface if I deselect. See a razor-sharp crease all the way around. And we'll talk more about creasing in a future workflow video. Right now, I just wanted to let you know that is one of the strengths of a subdivision surface, is the ability to add creases very easily without having a really detrimental effect on your surface, if you will. So that will wrap things up for this video, just an introduction to subdivision surfaces and their workflow. Thanks a lot.